Hello, this is a module over annual goals and objectives. I am Kelly Hetka, a special education instructional coach for Round Rock ISD. The purpose of this module is to briefly explain and review the major components and requirements for writing annual goals and objectives for a student. In our process of writing an IEP, as demonstrated with this wheel diagram, every piece is dependent on the others. It is a continuous process throughout the school year, including data collecting, providing data-supported PLAF, writing measurable annual goals and objectives, and progress monitoring those goals. For this module, we are going to focus on the goals and objectives spoke of the wheel. After establishing where a student is currently performing on specific skills in the PLAF, the annual goals and objectives set the target for what the student will learn or focus on and hopefully achieve for the upcoming IEP year. Annual goals and objectives address the needs and deficits that have been identified in the PLAF and set the general direction for instruction and the supports a student will need. Annual goals are statements that describe what the student can reasonably be expected to accomplish within a period of time, which is typically an IEP year or 36 instructional weeks. Annual goals address the area or areas in which a student needs special education services or specially designed instruction that have been identified in the PLAF. Goals can be academic or functional. All students served under special education have to have a minimum of one annual goal with 2 objectives. Here are a few major points to keep in mind as you are writing annual goals and objectives. An annual goal must be a measurable statement that identifies what specific skill and/or behavior a student is expected to be able to demonstrate and at what mastery level by the next annual review. By reading the goal, the reader should know exactly what skill is to be observed and the level of mastery the student is expected to achieve. The criteria for goal measurement must be explicit enough that the measurement will be the same regardless of who is doing the measuring. The annual goal must address the area of need and skills identified as weaknesses in the PLAF to enable the student to be involved in and progress in the general curriculum. The skills that are addressed in the annual goal have to have been identified as a weakness or a deficit in the PLAF and should improve the student's access to the general education curriculum. Simply put, the skill addressed in the annual goals must be the same skill or build on the skill identified in the PLAF as a deficit. Goals should not be a restatement of the gen ed curriculum or a list of everything the student is expected to learn in a content area. The intent of an annual goal is to close skill gaps and increase a student's participation and progress in the general curriculum. It should focus on what skill does a student need to progress in the content of the curriculum, rather than what curriculum content does a student need to master. The annual goal and objectives provide a mechanism for determining whether the child is making progress and if provided services and supports are meeting the student's needs. If the student is making progress on the annual goals and objectives, then it should mean that the developed plan is successful. If a student is not making progress toward their goals for 2 grading periods in a row, a staffing and/or ARD meeting will need to be held to discuss the current supports and any changes needed.